Hi guys, welcome back. In this video, I'll be discussing few more things like workflow and few best practices to generate Python code for Autodesk Maya. AI is pretty smarter than what we think. So at a times we can see that, and the more we interact with AI while chatting, we can learn a lot of things. It's just like when we are interacting with our senior developer over a period of time, we can learn a lot of things from him, her. So in the same way, the more we are interacting with AI, we are going to learn a lot of things, and we can understand the way how the AI is understanding certain things. So particularly when it has generated the code, it is explaining the same code, the logic behind it. So we can go through those lines and all, so then we will get to know how AI is interpreting things, understanding certain things, explaining things to us. So yes, in this session I will be discussing those things. We can do some tests also, like we can see the test results, take it to Maya, and Maya, like yeah, Maya, we can take it to Maya, we can run the code, see the errors. So there is a situation like we can come across some situation at a time, like what if we want to make some changes, like certain area code is not working. It might be difficult to explain certain things to AI, but one or two lines it might be easier for us to fix the same. In those cases, is there any solution? After modifying the code, we can bring back into a chat zone, like where we can start moving forward. AI can start that as a latest version, and we can raise more queries on top of that. Yes, we had a solution. Now we can jump into the session and look at those. So here is the workflow which I was developing for quite some time. I'm going to post this PDF on my website, creaturerigging.com. So in this workflow, we can see certain things like start a chat with the initial main query, along with some generic or specific options. So in this case, for example, these are all generic options, like use PyML core as a PM, write comments. Sometimes AI may not generate comments at a times, but mostly it will does. So these are all like general options. So certain options are specific to this tool, like suppose I want to indent in JSON file. That's where I'm exporting weights. We have seen these things in my earlier couple of videos. Now we can go ahead and see what are all more other possibilities. Like yes, once we have initiated some query, on top of that we can go ahead and ask. So initially it may just write some lines of code, but actually we may need some Python function with a specific name, with some arguments to pass on, like so we can extend the functionality of the same code. So in this case we can ask to write Python function with arguments. In this case we can mention like provide function name along with arguments, and explain what each argument is like. So function name here, I am going to use it like export vertex skin. Then I am going to ask like write a Python function with arguments like 1, 2, 3 arguments. So in my earlier video, we have already seen like only 2 arguments we have used it. Now we are going to use one more argument like side vertices. So it has to export only either left or right side, or none means it will entire all the entire mesh vertices. So once it has exported, so then we may come back and we can see certain things may not be working. So we can come back and we can use certain more queries, raise more queries to the tool. We can raise more queries to the AI. So at a times like I said, we have to bring back code from Maya to AI chart also. That also we can go ahead and see right now. So while we are running the code generated from AI within Maya, so we can see certain errors. Certain errors may be like in this case, this error raised because I'm using the code wrong way. Like certain things are related to how we are using it. So certain things are like there are errors, actual errors exist within the code itself. For example, like in this code, a particular object is not compatible with this method. This kind of error code we can copy from Maya and paste it in our chart. So AI can understand those effectively. Then we can do certain manual fixes if needed. And we can keep improving those things, that code, and again we can bring it back to AI. So start from the, if we want to start from the fixed code and within the AI to start fresh moving forward, we want to use this modified code only. So we can say like in that case we can use these lines on the top. Then a certain response we can see like what ChatGPT has given. Here is a modified version of the script that address the issues with the original script. So that's something I found which is very much useful in this process. Then ChatGPT helps to find out the variations of the same code. Sometimes we might be in need of performance. Sometimes we want to use Maya.cmds process. Sometimes we want to use Maya Python API, maybe Maya Python API 2.0, which is much faster in terms of performance and all. So whatever it is, first to build the logic, then try to come over here and change those things. So it can convert into different variations. So whatever it is, but AI can understand your requirement in many of the cases. So you can go and see those things very soon. So then observe how one more thing, one very important thing is like whenever ChatGPT is generating certain code, it will be explaining the logic behind that code it is generated. So you can go ahead and read those lines. Like for example, in this case, we can see like this script uses FileMail.core module to XMyas API and JSON module to write output to JSON file. So it is explaining very clearly like what it is doing, that code exactly. So whether it is related to our query, initial request we have made, we can compare both those things. The more we are interacting with AI, so whatever AI printing out here, so that's the language AI understood in terms of that code. So we can try to, the more we are trying to read those lines, we also can interact the same way with AI. So it build a very good relationship with AI, just like how you build your good relation with your colleague developer. So in this case also, over a period of time, we can build that kind of understanding with the AI. So this is something like a simple thing. So I just want to test it. What if what I want to replace with the existing code with a very simple code? So we can see that here. So yeah, initially I have asked AI to generate a script to export weights to JSON file. So this is something it has written. In the earlier case, it is not written this much. Based on more of my interaction with the AI, it started changing certain things. Initially, it is using like export skin weights. Now it is export vertex skin, because that is something I was requesting here. Like use the function name vertex skin. I have asked a few times raised this. So slowly started using this name as a function name. So I want to change this entire code with something else, like so I just made a test here, like we can see all those things one more time. So it is saying like, I'm sorry, but I can't replace the entire script with the code you provided. The code you provided does not contain a function or anything related to exporting skin weight. So if something it is not relevant to whatever the query we have made in the beginning, it is not going to accept, right? Yes, that means if you want to replace entire code with something else, it is comparing with whatever the code it generated, whatever the logic you are requesting, whatever the query you have made to AI to generate the script. It understands everything. It will compare with our logic. If everything is satisfied, then only it will accept whatever the code you are requesting here. So this is something, a few lines I found during my R&D, like this is very very much useful. Like the moment we started using these lines at the top, AI will replace it. So then I replaced exactly the required code here. So I'm using same lines again. So I started making a best practice, like I'm using these lines can be always on the top. So certain things which I am using, those lines here I'm using. So these lines I want to take it back to AI chart, so that it will be moving forward. It will continue from here, so that I can, my future requests are something related to based on this current code. So I can go ahead here, and I have seen that AI is saying like, I apologize for misunderstanding earlier. Actually it's not misunderstanding, it did very good job. So that time what I was trying, like uh, so I can say like, so sorry, in this case I can't use the up thumb. I have given already up thumb, like yes, earlier reply is good for me. So comparison was good, I have reply back to that. So it has used the same code which I have given. Sometimes based on your internet speed and all, after reaching at a certain end, it may fail to some extent. But don't worry, you can use only this much code to generate later whatever it is running this function. So you can start adding that at any time in the Maya script editor. So now we can go ahead and see a few more things here. So let me start with the same thing. In this case, I'm going to start with only two augments. Like, okay, I'm just copying this code here. So it's been little time. Let me go and refresh this one. So in my previous video, I have seen new thread. So now I can see new chat. Maybe it's more a meaningful way to start something new. So yes, AI is updating. Looks like it is updating on a daily basis. So someone might be recommended, maybe a realized like a new chat is much suitable word to start a new thread. So in this case, I'm going to initialize new thread here. So since I was using this name like a function name, if I change it to export vertex skin, I am using function name, I can say here. So it is using that function name here. So along with your main query, whatever you are thinking, you can use as a in a bullet points you can use it, so that whatever sub points, it can be treated like options for those things, this main query. So in this case it is generating that code. So in this case I want to export skin weights on a vertex selection base, something like I don't want to export all vertices for this mesh, I mean weights for all those vertices. So what if I want to export only these 4 vertices or something? So I can see like the export method also, it is giving like a vertex number and joint and weight and everything it is giving. So yes, this is something exactly I want in this case. So every time when I generate a file, I don't want file path to be this one. I want something like whatever the path which I have given, it is going to give it here. Now we can go ahead and see one more time. So make sure that these lines we are going to use it all the times on the top, so that earlier I was using without these codes. So it worked well. Later I found that I'm facing some difficulty every time I bring code here, run in the Maya. So it is saying these are not right commands. So I just went back. I just started using making use of this practice. So during the AI chat, it is ignoring these codes. So yeah, let me say again like print hi. I'm just trying to replace this with a simple code. Let us see if it doesn't match with the required logic, what it will say. So it is saying same thing like I'm sorry, but the code you provided doesn't match the requested task. If you would like to help with the specific issue or task, please provide more information. It is saying like it is not accepting as it is, right? That means it is checking with our requirement. Well, one thing is like it is going to check with our requirement, then it is whatever it has generated, it might be comparing with this code also, then it's coming back and saying like whatever the code if I want to replace, it is not enough for the requested query. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm just removing this thing. Okay, I'm just copying entire thing and coming over here and I'm pasting it here. So this time it is saying like here is the modified version of the script that takes a list of vertices and a file path as an argument, right? So it is saying like the moment I started understanding what it is, what AI is interacting with me. In this case, it is interacting and telling me like here is a modified version of the script that takes a list of vertices, right? So the more I am understanding AI, so same thing I am using in my conversation also, like use this modified version of the script. I am telling AI like use this modified version of the script, which is given below. Okay. So AI is understanding the way AI is telling me, same way I am trying to tell AI also, like please use this one, start from here, replace this entire code, then you can go ahead like. So I started doing this thing for me. So why it is needed, at a times we may not complete the code on the same day. We have to come back here, we have to start from where we are happy with. So like we discussed earlier, every time you start new chat, that code might be generating entire differently, so that time it doesn't help. So in this case we want to start from where we are right now. Yes. Now let us go ahead and see one more thing, like since I have given the working version code here, it has updated here. So now I can go ahead and I want one more query, raise one more query, like this is the another query, get the transform of mesh vertices list 0 and use it in JSON file for import purpose later. So if I use this thing, it may not useful. I have to select a mesh while importing. I want to avoid that. So anyway, it is exporting vertex information and the number of vertices and everything. So it can export to mesh name also within that file, JSON file, while I am importing back so that JSON file to import weights. So I need mesh information to be there within the JSON file itself. So I want to modify the code a bit differently. Let us see. Now I'm going to start with I mentioned here, further chat with chatbot. So as per our pipeline, as per the workflow which I am suggesting here. So first I initiated the query with some options here. Then I have replaced my entire code here. Then I am using more additional queries to during chat time if needed. So during this time I can request more requirements, and if it raises after testing, if it raises any errors, I can take back those errors and I can input those errors during the chat. So AI is understanding very effectively. In last few days I have seen it is understanding whatever the error report which is being generated Maya very effectively, and we can go ahead and see few more examples regarding this also. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so let me go and copy this information. I'm pasting it here. So what I'm trying, anyhow you are exporting vertex information from the first vertex. You can extract the mesh and put it in JSON file. Later when I'm querying like a mesh transform, it will be querying like, let me do that. So what it is saying, like to get a transform of a mesh from the first vertex. So you see how it is interpreting, like I have given a list of whatever the variable vertex list first element here. It is interpreting like to get the transform mesh from the first vertex. So it knows, AI knows, and it is much smarter than what we think. So it is updating my code here, like so we can see that skin weights transform dot name, it is giving transform name. So this will add the name of the transform node to the JSON file under the key transform. So it has updated the code. Now I can go ahead and copy this code entirely. So it has given only the function part. So rest of the things, even though it updated here, like it is using file path this time, instead of giving some generic file path, it has given like so whatever the path which I have given, it has updated over here. So for internal queries, like within the function, if any changes I requested, it is updating only that much function. Okay. So now I can go ahead and replace from here up to here. So this time I am using vertex list, file path, and transform node also I am going to use it here. So let me go and select a few vertex. 4 vertex. I am running this. So it is saying list index out of range, export to line at line 23. So I need to avoid this thing. So it is trying to get the information from there. Let me go ahead and copy this error report here. So it is saying like what kind of inputs you are giving. Based on that inputs, look at it. So I'm very clear in this case, like I'm inputting those only, like the text list I'm inputting here. So when it has to query from the mesh from the first vertex, so it couldn't get it done. So what happened? After my few more queries, one more query with this thing, so it is querying the transform node, something like it has come up with like a mesh. Initially it is querying mesh. I have given this this particular area I have edited manually, and I have given side vertices also in this case. So I can go ahead and change like selection is node type 0. Then go ahead and check it this also, like a vertex information. So selection dot 0, I can go ahead and use this thing, selection 0 dot node. So if I want to get it this thing, so I can say so let me try one more time. So this time it is giving you a different error, like so in gateway its object is incompatible with this method, so it's giving in the line number 40. So in this case we shouldn't use vertex index. So skin cluster dot get weights. So this time vertex based I am doing this thing. So over a period of further interactions with this thing, I came to know, I can get to know like so it has to query vertex weights here. Giant weights it is querying, influenced object, enumerate weights, weight has been listed. Skin cluster get weights, it is using only the vertex, not the not the mesh. Okay, it is using vertex in this case. I can go ahead and change this thing, like so instead of using I can use directly vertex itself. Let me try out one more time. So it has looks like it has a written effectively. Let me run this code one more time. So exported to skinweights.json, where R&D path is there. So it's the one it has exported just now. So I can see that it is doing the job pretty well, like so the text number here, giant 1, giant 2, and transform it is adding here. Okay, it is adding transform. So in the earlier run, I have seen like mesh transform it is using. So now I can go ahead, I can use this latest, very latest version. So in this case, I can say updated version, side vertices is none. I want to add one more augment here, like one more argument. So we can go back and see that currently only 2 are there. So I want to change that with this one, like so let me go ahead and use this query. So here what I am trying to say, write function, this Python functions once again. So by using arguments with a default value none, file path none, and side vertices left. So vertices list means list of vertices selected. So anyhow, while we are using this function, we have to make a documentation, right? For example, something like there is no documentation right now here. So there is no documentation right now. So in future, if I want to add more documentation based on this one, I can copy that also, I can update that also. So for now, let me go and start erasing this query one more time. So now we can see it is adding default values here for that augments. So now what I can see, since I'm using the same code, it has generated this code. I can go and copy it here. Okay, due to some reason it got stuck. So what I'm doing the same thing one more time. Like so, I'm just going ahead and I'm using this doc string whatever it has generated. So I am updating my file with side vertices and everything. I am just going ahead and copying this entire thing, and I am pasting it here. Just enter. So it sounds like there are certain syntax error it is showing, like so to regenerate. So so maybe whatever I have done here, let me run it again. If there are any syntax errors, it is letting me know. So now after adjusting that tab spacing, now it is working good. So I started updating the moving forward, the chat can be done based on this latest version. So from Maya, I am updating my script here right now. So whatever it is generating back and forth, like a kind of earlier I don't have doc string in Maya. I just run it. It has generated doc string like so. Exports converts from selection Autodesk vertex list. We can see like vertex list is one argument. A file path str. It has generated that documentation for me, and I started using. This is something which is it is giving based on my query. So overall, I got documentation. Now we can see how smart AI is, and it is going to update that tool here. And we can see side vertices lower left and right. We can see that like if it is left side, compare with this position, world position. So in this case, left means it is taking screen left. I have changed the code greater than in the top. So after updating everything, what I did, I just want to check it here. So by using this AI, my idea is like these are the 4 things I want to use. Like if you see like so I want to update this tool with the latest version. It's using by using JSON format. So entire mesh I already did. Entire mesh means all the multiple mesh it will export in single JSON file that we have seen in my earlier videos. Now I'm working on selected vertex, left side vertices, right side vertices. So what I can say, I'm using this option right now. I am using these 2 vertex for time being. So I am saying left side vertices. I am exporting. So it has exported. So it opens the path there. Like so, I can see it is updated on date 18th. So in this case, we can see like it is making a selection out of 2 vertex. It is taking only left side vertex. That means 234. I can come over here and see that. Yes, 234 is on this thing. Now same selection, let it be the same selection, but this time I am using selected vertices. I am exporting Sinway one more time, so I can come over here and see that. So this time it has exported to 234. This is something like on the right side. So right side of the x-axis. So it is. So it is 260 actually. Sorry guys, some issue here. Let me go back and see one more. So let me select the both. And this time this time I'm using selected vertices. Okay, this time I have to see this version, vertex weights. So it is exporting for both these numbers, 260 and 234. So 260 and 234, so both are there. So this time I'm using right side selection. Let me see, like it export with the right side, right weights, AHSS right side weights. So we can see that on the right side 260 is exported. Okay, that's cool. So yeah, the way I want it already done it. So I have updated my tool here. So it is using mesh transform to export the mesh. So let me try like these weights I will be exporting. This time I can say like selected vertices. So now we can see it is pretty much fast. Earlier it might be taking 2-3 minutes. So what I can do, I can select this entire mesh, paint. So let me select so just like earlier what I am doing here, so I am just flooding all the weights to giant one. So I did that one. So the moment I import the file, what it does, it will go back and pick up the same file. I don't need to do any selection manually because the format already exporting here, like mesh transform. We can see that mesh transform is a plane one. So while it is importing those weights, the vertex numbers are assigned to these one, and weights also will be assigned to this plane only. So now if I am going selected vertices, I am importing skin. We can see it is pretty much fast, and it after importing those weights, it will select those vertices also. That's how I have written this tool. Yeah, it worked pretty well. And one more thing, AI does a very good cleanup job. So if you start using some external modules, it will just clear those things. So for that, we can quickly go ahead and see that also. For example, yes, sorry, it is already there. In this case, I am using Hyperskin version here. While it has updated my version back here, it has just removed those Let me copy paste entire thing one more time. Let me update that here. This time I am requesting to replace entire code with this below code. So replace and start with this below code fresh. So it is explaining what this code does, and before implementing that code here, it is just explaining that code here, the logic behind the new code which has generated. So regenerate the response one more time. It looks like this is not something I am expecting. Don't analyze, just use it here. It looks like you are trying to modify a script that exports skin weights from vertex selection to Maya to JSON file. Sometimes what happens, after a lot of iterations, it will lose the track. So the best idea is like it is telling like use this way if you had any issues. So this is not something I am expecting again in this case. So I am going to start fresh thread again. So this time what I am doing, I am just initializing from the beginning one more time. So it will generate the tool based on the initial inputs which I have given. I'm not bothering whatever it generates at this moment because I am going to update with this everything. So I'm going to copy it again. We can see that so use this modified version of the script. Since I started refreshing with the page, so it is generating the code again based on the my previous chart with this. It is going to update those things. So once it is done with it, I can go back and this time what I am doing, I am just like I said, I am some custom modules from Hyperskin start progress. When we have seen progress bar is coming up here, one it is exporting and importing those weights. That progress bar I want to see how much time it is taking, how much the progress it is making. So I have used some custom module, but what it is going to do, it is going to ignore this particular line. And at a time I want to use like yesterday I was facing this issue, mesh.get matrix, this is not working. So matrix is not can't be extracted from shape node. So I have replaced that code with it. So I want to keep it for reference to testing purpose. So what it is doing, it is doing that cleanup. When the moment I enter code back to this one, it is just removing this unwanted line. So I am going and saying this thing, and I have just pasted all the code here. I am asking like replace start with this, sorry, replace and start with this below code. Okay. So now we can see that after lot of iterations, what will happen? Sometimes it will lose the track exactly what we are asking the AI. So that times what we need to do, we just need to refresh, start with a fresh chart, and enter the code here. Now we can see very quickly, here is the modified version of the script you provided. This time it is saying very simple way. So now we can see that like when it is updating this code, it will ignore that hyperskin dot start progress win, hyperskin dot progress win. So yeah, somehow it is using hyperskin.error. I am using my local module here. Luckily it is working here at this time. So in my previous update with the latest version, it has ignored hyperskin. Wherever hyperskin dot it has come, it has ignored the same. So it is updating entire code again. Wow, good to see that hyperskin dot start progress win. This time it is giving me that one. Sorry guys, I am disturbing by moving cursor here and there. Don't move your cursor here. So while it is generating that one, looks like that. Let me go back and regenerate that code one more time based on my latest modified code. So it is writing currently like if mesh is selected, get the vertices from there. So there are two types of selections will be there. One is like a mesh selection. If mesh selection is made, in this case, I don't want to extract the vertex information. I am suggesting like go back to entire mesh option in my UI. So this is something like in Hyperskin UI, I am suggesting that for the user of this tool, like don't use this option. Uh, you need to use vertices only for this selection. By any chance, if you want to export all the vertex from the mesh, use this option I was suggesting. So it has updated that also for me. Now I'm going to see, I'm very much curious, like this time it is going to use hyperskin.start progress win or not. So this time it is using, but looks like there is some error again. So yeah, what we can do, sometimes based on the internet speed, sometimes after writing to certain code, maybe 100 lines, maybe after reaching 70, 60 lines, it is not updating. So I have suggested the code like in this case, so I am saying this thing, I can provide my feedback to this thing. This is not helpful this way. When I have given the code, instead of typing everything, this kind of feedback, whatever we are giving, maybe in future